All right, here we go. 8-7, factoring special cases. How do you factor differences of two squares and greatest common factors? Well, let's take a look. Okay, difference of two squares, what do we mean? Well, difference means subtraction. And two squares, we got two perfect squares. We can take the square root of a squared, it's a. You can take the square root of b squared, it's b. And you got the difference. So what's the factored form? A plus b, a minus b. How does that work? Well, let's take a look here. X squared minus 9. I've got a difference. Are they both perfect squares? What's the square root of x squared? X. What's the square root of 9? 3. X plus 3, x minus 3. Just plug them in. Okay? 16x squared minus 81y squared. Got a difference. Is this a perfect square? 4x is the square root here. 9y is the square root of 81y squared. 4x plus 9y, 4x minus 9y. Difference of two squares. Okay? So, what have we done so far up to now? Let's look at our factoring and some steps to look for. You know, what are things you look for when we have to factor polynomials? Well, we start out factoring out a greatest common factor. Okay? That's the first thing you want to look for. Is there anything I can factor out to start with? If it's two terms, I'm going to look to difference of two squares. Okay? If it's a trinomial, I'm going to look to see if a is 1, or if a is not 1, I'm going to do fabulous factoring. Okay? So that's where we're at right now. So let's take a look at some examples here. Thinking this thought process right here. Okay? 24g squared minus 6, I want to factor that. First thing I want to look for, is there something I can factor out of this? And yeah, 6 goes into both of them. Remember when we factor out greatest common factor, then I can think about factoring that 6, that greatest common factor, into both of them. I'm going to get 4g squared minus 1. And then I want to look and see what's inside here. Can I factor that? Well, it's only two terms, so I know it's not a trinomial. So the only thing I've got left is the difference of two squares. Can I take the square root of each of these? 2g, 1, square root of 1 is 1. I've got a minus, so sure enough, 2g plus 1, 2g minus 1, and just keep the 6 out front there. Okay? So if you multiply that whole thing out, you can FOIL those two and then multiply it by 6. I'll get back to where I started. Okay? So greatest common factor, difference of two squares. Is there a greatest common factor here? Yeah, I can take a 2 out. 2 goes into there, 2 cancels. 2 goes into 16 8 times. 2 goes into 18 9 times. Okay? I've got a trinomial with a value of 1. Factors of 9 that differ by 8. 9 minus 1, right? So keep my 2 out front. Get my x. My x, I've got a plus minus, so I'm going to get a plus minus here. Factors of 9 that differ by 8. 9 minus 1, so my 9 goes with the plus. 1 goes with the minus. Can't do anything else to it. I'm done. Trinomial, there's no greatest common factor. So I'm going to split my x's up because my a value is 1. I don't have to fabulous factor here. Minus plus is minus minus. Using that same sign rule from the other day. Factors of 36 that add up to 12. 6 and 6. You could also write this like this. Same thing. Okay? X times x is x squared. Minus 6x minus 6x is minus 12x. And negative 6 times a negative 6 is a positive 36. Alright? Trinomial. There's not a greatest common factor. My a value is not 1. I've got a fabulous factor. So, fabulous factor. Split my 4x all over 4. Plus plus, so I'm going to get a plus plus. I'm just following the 1, 2, 3, 4 steps that we did the other day. 4 times 25, that's going to be plus 100. What times what is 100, but I add up to 20? Oh, 10 and 10. Alright? 4 doesn't go into 10 evenly either way, so I'm going to break it down as 2 times 2, that's 4. And then that 2 can go into there. That 2 can go into there. 2 goes into 4 twice, goes into 10 5 times. And if you want to write this as 2x plus 5 squared, same thing. There's my 4x squared plus 10x is plus 20x. 5 times 5 is 25. So it all works in there. Okay? So, when you're factoring, look for a greatest common factor first. If it's only two terms, look to see if it's the difference of two squares. If it's a trinomial, is A 1 or is A not 1? Tells you whether you're going to fabulous factor or just do it regular. Okay? So we're going to look at some of this tomorrow. Continue on with our factoring. All right, we'll see you then. Bye.